Hello again, internets. It's me, Nicholas Bellavita, and I would like to talk to you about the Sabbath. Let's talk about the Sabbath. The Sabbath is Saturday, the seventh day of the week, not Sunday, which is the first day of the week. Seems as though to me someone changed the dates and times and laws. Not supposed to do that, guys. So if uh if we look at Jewish tradition, and not this silliness of worshiping the Lord on Sunday and having the Sabbath on Sunday, not that silliness. We will see that the Jews begin Shabbat service Friday evening, Friday at sunset. And to go along with this, we will also see that in Islam, they have called a prayer on Friday. And Friday is also traditionally associated with Venus, Shukra, the morning star, who rules on Friday? Well, the great comet, Santa Claus, Jesus Christ, right? Like that's all Friday, right? Like Friday is Venus's day. And the Jews begin their service for the Sabbath on Friday. So Friday evening, Friday at sunset, work ends, Sabbath begins. This is Jewish tradition. So today is Friday. As I said in the last video, I don't know if it's posted yet. It's in a copyright dispute, but it'll be up soon. And you can watch me talk more about this there too. I'm just kind of going over what I said in the last video again and expanding upon what I said in the last video. So I'm going to pop up this chart again. It's the year 5777. And what we will see is that Jesus made a sacrifice back here on Wednesday, and Jesus rises on the third day. So we count off 1, 2, 3. So Jesus makes a sacrifice on Wednesday, and then we count off 1, 2, 3, and then Jesus rises on the third day. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Jesus rises, and that would be today, right? Today is Friday, year 5777. And if we take 777 and divide it by 1,000 to go along with this Jewish Kabbalah, the year 0 is Sunday, and then Monday is the year, beginning of Monday is the year 1,000 to 2,000, Tuesday is 2,000, Wednesday is 3,000, Thursday is 4,000, Friday, the day that we're on, is 5,000 to 6,000. And if we take 777 divided by 1,000 and convert that to a 24-hour clock, so multiply that number by 24, we get 18.648, which is military time. And if we convert that to civic time, we can turn that number into 638 or 639. So it's 640 on Friday. So it's Friday evening. And to go along with this, if we look at sunset times in Israel, just using Israel because as a frame of reference on the globe, we will see that sunset during the summer is 7:50. During the spring and fall equinoxes, it is 5:52, and during the winter sunset is 4:41. So it is Friday evening, past sunset. So the sun has already set. And this all has to do with the precession of the great year and the time that it is on the earth relative to heaven. So today is Friday evening, and according to Jewish tradition, it is the beginning of Shabbat festivities. To go with it, it is 223 years until the year 6000. And I talked about this in the last video. sabbatical year hasn't been observed for the last 2016 years. So 288 years of rest are due. So if we take 2016 divided by 7, we'll find out that 288 years of rest are due to the earth and the land of the earth. And the Lord is pretty adamant about, like, if you missed a sabbatical year, like, you will rest the land. And to kind of, like, pair this with what's going on in the world, where we have rivers drying up, the oceans are over-harvested, 40% of the sea creatures are dead, the forests are over-harvested, half the wildlife is dead, and half the forests are gone. There's global anthropological caused climate change, oil is over-harvested, coal is over-harvested. Essentially, looking at the situation, I can expand upon what is going on and what the commandment was trying to communicate to this place. And I'm not going to say that it's like unilateral, but I can infer that when the Lord is like, you will rest the land and you will rest harvesting things every 7 years, what the Lord is trying to say is like, is trying to be like, you will like not mine, you will not mine gold, silver, or other stones, you will not mine coal, you will not mine oil, you will stop fishing, you will stop harvesting the forests, you will rest the farmland. Like, given the situation, I can infer that the Lord is trying to cover, like, to say that we need to rest all harvesting activities of the planet, or greatly reduce harvesting activities of the planet. And so it's the year 5777, and there are only 223 years until the 1,000-year Sabbath of man, the year 6000, the 7th day of the week. And that's what, again, Lord Jesus Christ, like, sacrifice is trying to communicate to this place, is this widely accepted Jewish mysticism that is on your screen, Jewish Kabbalah. Like, this is pretty just accepted. Like, if I went to a rabbi and I talked to them about this, they would be like, yeah, this is like, yes, this is very accurate. Yes, year 0 is Sunday, the first day of the week. Year 6000 is Saturday, the 7th day of the week. Yes, I understand what you're saying. And Jesus' sacrifice, again, is like trying to communicate that idea to the earth. So 288 years, Sabbath years, are due, but there are only 223 years until the 1,000-year Sabbath, right? So if we take that 288 minus 223, we'll find that there are just 65 years of we'll make it up at the end of the 1,000-year Sabbath, man. I guess we'll just do that. We'll just tack it on to the end. So if we understand Jesus is the Lord of the Sabbath, and the Sabbath ceremonies begin Friday evening, Friday at sunset, and it is Friday evening, and we missed a bunch of Sabbath years. And to go along with this, I'm just gonna like pop up a couple like news articles here, a couple headlines here to kind of reiterate this point. We need to let the biological system that we are part of renew itself. That is like what the Sabbath is for. And actually, this is ancient Babylon's great mistake. This is like what Babylon didn't do, and was the downfall of their empire, was that they didn't rest the land. And because they didn't rest the land, this is ancient Mesopotamia, they got to peak population, and then the soil was essentially degraded from its constant use and having to feed all these people that the land couldn't support. So the soil failed, and when the soil failed, crops failed. And when the crops failed, there were too many people and not enough food to feed them, so they ended up killing each other, and Babylon failed and fell apart. And to go with that, like the philosophies of men have greatly like detracted from the commandments of God. And we've essentially, in the United States of America, and a lot of secular societies all over the world, have gotten rid of the Sabbath day and letting people take Saturday or Sunday off. And you can make a very good secular argument that we should just give our workforce a day of the week off. But for whatever reason, the philosophies of men, the mind of men, have tampered with the great authority and the awesome wisdom of God, and have essentially done away with this for whatever reason. It also helps, requiring a rest day also helps workers not be abused too, right? Like, we are biological animals, right? We need rest. The biological system that we are a part of needs rest. And the biological system that we are a part of needs to renew itself so that the soil can recharge itself, so that it doesn't fail and doesn't cause our civilization to fail. So what I am trying to say is that, like, we need to stop working and start observing the Sabbath, and start obeying the commandments of the Lord, of the Almighty. Because the planet that we are on is due 288 years of rest, plus the 1,000-year Sabbath that is coming up starting in the year 6000, which is only 223 years away. So if people aren't working for 288 years plus 1,000 years, like, what will that look like, right? Because what I am saying is that you should not go to work tomorrow, right? And that your primary concern should be your relationship with the Almighty Lord. Like, right? Like, that should be your primary concern. Your primary concern should not be worshiping money, which is a false god. Your primary concern should be, like, what does the Lord want me to do? Well, as far as I can tell, the Lord doesn't want you to drive your car, and the Lord doesn't want you to work tomorrow. So, and it's like, what is that like? Like, what does that look like if we aren't working for 288 years plus 1,000 years, or 223 years plus 1,000 years? Like, what does that look like? How are we supposed to do that? In the last video, I quickly commented on how the association between money and violence is a constant, and that ownership is an illusion, right? God owns everything. The idea that we own anything is just fiction, right? And I'll talk about this more in the next video. But if you think about it, the reason why money has any value is because of the violent system that is supporting it, right? So money and violence is a constant. Ownership is an illusion. No one owns anything. What I'm trying to say is that money is a religion, and it's against my religion. And it's like, well, how do you trade goods and services if there's no money? Well, that's a trick, right? Like, that's a magic trick, right? Like, that's the economy of God, in essence, right? Like, in heaven, they do not have any money up there, right? Like, because they don't need it. So if that's how it works in heaven, why is that not how we operate things down here? To me, any action that we do, we should be able to derive that action logically without money, right? So if you're going to do something, money should be your, like, what's that? Like, that has nothing to do with the decision-making process. It shouldn't have anything to do with your decision-making process. Like, I'm going to go find a cure of cancer. Why? Because to glorify God's creation, right? Like, I'm going to go carry a cross up a hill and hang myself on it. Why? Because it glorifies God's creation, right? Like, I'm going to go open up a business that sells steak burgers. how am I going to get supplied steak burgers? Well, you shouldn't be selling steak burgers because that annoys animals and that harms animals. So you shouldn't be doing that. Well, what about coffee? Well, you shouldn't do coffee because it messes with the nitrogen cycle and abuses the environment which we inhabit. Like, well, I'm going to go open up a smoothie shop. Well, you shouldn't open up a smoothie shop because you shouldn't have a refrigerator because all the refrigerators require coolant that damages the environment which we inhabit. Uh, like, yeah. Um, Essentially, like, what money does is, like, it kind of causes us to perform actions that might not be optimal or sensible. They, like, don't make any sense and kind of cause us to do more harm than good. So, yeah, that's my spiel. On the next video, I will talk more about money and how essentially we are supposed to cancel debts because you are supposed to cancel debts every 7 years. In Torah, this is what it says, and we haven't canceled debts in the last 2016 years. And the reason why we need to cancel debts is because we must cease work and debt cycles that are essentially causing us to perform unnecessary work. Yep. So, yeah, that's going to be my next video. My next video, I will essentially be talking trash about the good old American dollar. Yay. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all I have to say for this video, at least. The Sabbath is the day we're supposed to stop working today. How are people supposed to pay rent if they're not working? Well, that's a very good question, right? Like, we must find another way.